Hello, everyone. Hello, hello.
Hi.
Hi. So, if we move forward, um, I'm going to jump to the handout kind of quickly today. Uh, but it's funny how this strange semester in technology classes, which this is in large part, it's the beginning is always like the technology update. Today's technology update is brought to you by me. Okay, so here's the update. Um, I just froze for a minute. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Very well.
great. The There's two things in the works at the moment that interest me that will affect our class. The first, I'm very excited about. The school has been negotiating with Adobe to continue the free licenses, which would make life a lot easier for a lot of people, right? And I'm going to keep you posted on that. The original date was the 30th, so we still have a little bit more time. And I'll let you know in advance if anything timely needs to change, right? Now, I know a couple people could just not get their logins to work no matter what I did. And a couple people were able to do it on a different computer, with remote access, which completely mystifies me. That makes almost no sense. So I'm trying to get an ally, a go-to individual that people can call and go over this stuff because it's really kind of over my head. But what's going on right now, though, is a couple ingenious people have just jumped into the remote access option, where by and large they've been able to get into everything we need by using the school labs from home. Again, Anne seems to be on top of it. Chris is getting close. Nobody else has expressed a big need for those particular options. So I'm going to skip over this subject for the moment. As soon as they become relevant, I will try to give you advance notice if we do have to all use remote access. And I think that won't happen. So that would be nice. I'll keep you posted on all of the above. Right now, same as always. I want to go right into my screen sharing mode, though. Make sure I don't skip anything important. We got some more fun Photoshop to do today. So I'm going to click my share screen. And I just want to get to my handout. Give me a moment there. All right, we're way down here in class 9. Oops. Okay. Oh, good. Boy, it's funny. The truth about these handouts is they're more for me than they are for you. I go off on so many tangents, they make sure I don't get utterly lost. So we don't have class next Tuesday, right? And I imagine most of you are already aware of that. But if not, Tuesday, the school's going to run your Monday classes, right? So it basically means you're having 2 Mondays next week, right? Unless, oh, wait, are we closed on Monday for a holiday? I guess that's what it is. So take that back. Tuesday.
Professor,
Yes.
does that mean like the classes that were on Tuesday, they're
Or
gonna be
cancel.
canceled, and the
That's
ones
right.
from Monday are gonna be on
On
Tuesday?
Tuesday. Yes. And I know that's plenty weird, right? But like when you wake up on Tuesday, just make believe it's Monday. That's the trick. And the reason being, there's so many Monday holidays that to get you the number of classes that we need, the only way to do it is to steal time from a different day of the week. So BMCC does this every semester. It's
And do
like a
the ones from Tuesday move or they just get canceled?
they just get canceled because probably they counted the calendar and there's enough Tuesdays by the end of the semester for us to
Okay.
get all the classes. So Tuesday wasn't a problem, but Monday is always the biggest one because so many holidays are on a Monday. Don't be surprised if they do this twice. As far as I know, off the top of my head, it's just this coming Tuesday. What it means for us is I'm not going to see you till Thursday next week. So we're just skipping a class, right? You're not going to miss anything though. We're just moving it over. So anyway, I won't see you next Tuesday. I will see you next Thursday. That's October 1st. All right. Now, we're going to resume Photoshop and begin reviewing the midterm. And I want to be very specific what I mean by that. So we did all this HTML, CSS, And then we started Photoshop for that purpose, you know, a little crop tool, you might remember. That was before we got to the flat out Photoshop part. Well, we're going to end the Photoshop part in a similar way, where we're going to return. We're going to have Photoshop as the star, but we're going to make some things for a little bit of HTML that I'm going to bring in to get that subject back. So we're going back to HTML, CSS for a little bit, but from the photo perspective. That means if your image tags never worked before, you'll have a chance to go over it. Now that we know a little bit more about pixel sizes, cropping with the crop tool is going to be more interesting for you, right? And that's what that's my plan for next Thursday. But right after that, the following Tuesday, we're going to do flat out review for the midterm, which I think will be a big relief for everybody. Everyone seemed to be pretty confident when we were doing the web design stuff, but you know, it's been a couple weeks. So we'll go over it. I'll help you understand what the midterm's going to be. We'll have a day at least of review, maybe two. I'd have to look at my own calendar. But I think, I don't think the midterm actually starts till class 12. But that's just off the top of my head. It might actually say here at the end, let me take a peek. Yeah, the midterms plan to begin class 12, so that's October 8th. So we'll have a couple classes to warm you guys back up. We combine all the skills so far. The midterm's going to be a small website. So I don't really want to talk much about it now, but don't be nervous, especially if you succeeded at the homework for class 4, which was some web stuff. I have to apologize that I have not graded those homeworks. There's just been so much going on. I'm rather late. So I'm going to try to get to that soon. I just realized I neglected it. Anybody have any questions about the dates or what we're doing? You know, a little more Photoshop and then a slow return back to HTML and CSS. After the midterm, we're leaving all this behind and moving into completely new material. So that's where we're at. All right, if there's no questions, I'm just going to move on. You know, all this stuff has been the same the last couple of handouts. I don't have much to add to it. You know, I imagine the people who were interested in working with zip files on Windows and getting your extensions to show up in your folders, .jpg, .html, .mp4, all of that. People on Windows sometimes have issues. I imagine you've already looked over this extra handout. So not much more to say about it. No one's using a Chromebook as far as I know. All right. That's all I have to say about that. Look, before we get into the Photoshop part, does anybody have any questions for me at all about anything? No, we're good. Hey, am I recording right now?
Yes.
Yeah. It's very strange on my end how little feedback I get whether I'm recording or not. All right. I want to enter into a new subject and mix it in. We're going to do more montage today. We put a duck on a stage, and we put a camel in the desert. But I'm more interested in the elephant in the room, because nowadays there's always an elephant in the room. So we're actually going to put an elephant in a room. Now, the thing is, I want to talk to you about finding your own parts, since before you know it, I'm going to be history. And a lot of you guys are going to want to do this. So I have a couple issues that I want to get out of the way. First is legality, legal photos. Now, I'm just going to be clear. You know, I'm talking to a generation, not you guys, of course, but others who get all their music and it's all stolen music. You know, nobody here, naturally. But now I'm talking about whether it's legal to steal photos or not. So here's my point. If you go to a random website, take a photo down and use it in your own work, you'll be okay as a student and you'll be okay as someone playing around. But if you publish it, put that photo on your own website or in a newspaper or something, you will be sued. And it's a federal crime. It's a major crime. So you really want to make sure not to do that. You could do it for homework or for fun, but you can't publish it. So I want to talk about how to get legal images first. I want to add one more thing. You might like it if someone's borrowed your work, or you might flip out. I've had my work stolen twice without giving me credit, and I flipped out. So I know what it's like. You know, you don't want your work stolen, so you don't want to steal anybody else's. So we're going to deal with that. What about copyright? Well, you know, somebody, somebody's house is really noisy. I'm the only one that looks like I have a mic on. All right. Uh, hey, Isaiah, can you turn your mic off? Maybe.
Sorry about that.
No problem. All right. So I want to get around, how do you find images? There's a lot of ways, so this isn't the only way. I just want to make sure you find images that are legal. So that's the step one, legal, morally sound. The other thing is, will they be big enough? I really want you to hear this part. Let's say you needed an elephant and all you can find was this 200 pixel elephant. You know, that's very tiny, right? And you're putting him in a big room, a 2000 pixel room, let's say. You know, an elephant's going to look more like an ant, right? So we're concerned with size. So we want to do two things. We want to get legal images that are big enough. Now I want to show you guys something. Let me just move this over. We're going to start with Google and Google Images, just because it will link to many image banks, which are companies in the business of giving photos and selling photos, right? So we start with Google Images. Of course, Google doesn't own the images, so they're just a place to start. I got to warn you about one thing. One, if you've used Google Images before, I'm talking about very professional features. It's not just searching and picking an image. So we're going to start there, but you might see new things. Here's the other thing. Google is very restless, and they've been changing the way this works constantly. I mean, numerous times a year. I'm so glad I review everything before every class because they changed everything since the last time I did this. But it's a little better. So we're going to start together. So I just want to point something out. We're going to search in a minute for a particular search, so wait for me, right? We're going to click images. But once we get inside, we got to remember this. Settings and advanced search. So this is what I'd like you to do. Could you open up a new tab? I want you to join me on this exact search. I want you to type elephant side view. I did this yesterday, so it's showing up for me. Elephant side view. Don't improvise yet, right? And you'll see why pretty soon. And just hit return or enter. Now, once you're inside, even about elephants, probably, I do want you to click the images link at the top. Now, I want to point out to you that this is common. Now, here's the problem. In recent versions, if you brought your mouse over, it would show you how big the elephant was, how many pixels. In slightly older versions, the information was below. Now they're hiding that. So I don't know if it's legal. I don't know if it's big enough. I'm going to have to make some choices. But before we get there, I want to point something out. If you want to put an elephant in a room, you can't pick this elephant here, right? Unless you want him poking his head through the window. So one thing you're often trying to find is whole things. You need a model. Very often you want them head to toe. Like even some of them where they just cut off a little bit. That's going to be hard to place in a picture. I don't want to have to paint a missing foot or a missing snout. All right, so here's the next thing we're going to do. These are a lot of good candidates, but I'd like you to take a look over here. So there's a bunch of these useful buttons. I want you to click settings. Now, we want to go from settings to advanced search. Now, as you saw, this is on today's handout for anyone who wants to look it over later. Settings and advanced search. There's a couple things we care about here, but I want to point this one out first. It says image size. Now, I'd like you to come over here. Now, what it's telling you here are three very vague options: large, medium, icon, and three much more specific. So it's saying larger than, larger than. It's asking us what's the minimum size that we want. So I want to tell you what I have in mind. I wanted to look at the room first, but your teacher skipped that. So I have to tell you, we'll get back to it. The room that we're going to work with is going to be 1280 pixels, right? 1280 pixels. I want a big elephant so I can make it as big as I want. Now, if you notice, this one here is less than 1280 wide, but it's very big. right? So it'll give us a lot of freedom. Let's choose that. Now let's stop for a minute. When you're on your own, you'll do what I should have done. I want to make a decision about the main photo. And the main photo is going to be the room in this case, right? I skipped it. But once you know how big that room is, you can decide how big your actors need to be, or the table, or any prop that you want to put in the room should fit logically. All right, did this work out so far? We got one more thing to do here though. So that's the size issue. Let me throw in one more thing. If you pick one that's too small, you can't make it larger and get good quality. Photoshop will let you make it larger, but it will look bad. So when you're in doubt, get something that's too big. Big, you could shrink very well. So too big is okay, but too small is not. All right, that's a rule in graphics and video and animation, so stick with that rule. Bigger is better at first. Now what I want to do is go a little bit further down to where it says usage rights. So this is what's legal or not, and I'd like you to click on this little menu. They simplified this a lot in just since the summer. Now they're only really giving you 3 choices. Usage rights all, or Creative Commons licenses, or commercial licenses. Now commercial licenses, you're probably going to have to pay, right? Creative Commons licenses, you don't. So listen, I want to tell you something about this just to be fair. I'm generalizing a little bit because these features are changing a lot. And I'm not a lawyer, but I want to tell you a little bit about what Creative Commons means. Typically, when you put up a photo and you're interested in Creative Commons, you get to say, anyone can have my photo. Or you get to say, anyone can have my photo, but they can't sell it. Or they can do whatever they want with my photo, but they have to give me a credit. So there's a lot of Creative Commons licenses. So I'm a little surprised it's not listing them. This is the best we could do. Click Creative Commons licenses. So let's stop for a minute. You chose a size that made sense, and you chose the best shot you could at this moment in time to get a legal image. Creative Commons license. Now, click Advanced Search, the blue button. I want to say one more thing before we pick the one that we need today. You know, I'm not really content with that Creative Commons thing. I liked it just over the summer when they were still listing exactly what the rules are. Like some of them said, Creative Commons license to use in any way. And I always pick that one. Now it's a little vague, so I'm going to have to do research. What is Google thinking? But let me say something practical to you. I'm going to make this simpler. If you do choose to sell something, say later this year you put up a website and you needed some photos and you got them the way we're learning today. If someone finds a photo that's theirs on your website and they think you shouldn't have done it, that there was some mistake made, it's illegal, they didn't mean to give it away for free, they'll reach out to you. And this is what you should say. I did my best to choose Creative Commons license, but if you're telling me that that was a mistake, I understand. I'll take it down. Right? And you're free. You just take the image down. You know, people aren't going to race to court. Nobody wants to waste their time in court. Right? The worst you could say is, hey, you dummy, I got it from Google. I'm cool. Then watch them sue you into the ground. You know, you be polite, you take it down. They're the owner. Right? Everybody with me? So if you're choosing the Creative Commons license, that probably won't happen, but it could. Like it happened to friends of mine. Right in Midwood, Brooklyn, they took these pictures shamelessly, put them on a really expensive website they made. They were my bosses, by the way, at the time. When someone recognized the photographer's work, called him up, he called them up and flipped out. He was really mad. And they were very crafty businesswomen. And they made him a deal. They're like, let us use your photos and let us make you a website. They gave him a great deal. And the next thing you know, they were just doing business together. So that story ended well. All right. What about getting the picture once you find it? So don't download these. These are thumbnails. I want you to click this one. This is the one I'm after. And of course, it opens up on the right. And many of you have seen this before. I just want to point out a couple things. You can't get the full-size version from the left, but you can get it from here. But here's where it gets a little bit more complex. The images are coming from different businesses. Some are coming from Wiki. A lot of you guys know Wikimedia, but there's Wikimedia, Wikipedia. There's a lot of Wiki products, W-I-K-I. The good news is they're very, very legal. The Wiki products are made for you to take. So if the original is from Wiki, you got lucky. There's not a lot to worry about. But if it came from other websites, there's bigger problems. I want to come back to that subject. Right now, we're going to do it the Wiki way, right? So I want you to click the large image. Now, here's the point where things get different. If you click that image and it belonged to Getty One, they're a very expensive professional photo house. They'd have a different way to download. If you went to Grandpa's Elephant's website, they'll have a different way to download. So this part you'll have to think about for yourself. But I want to show you how Wiki does it. Wiki shows you other options right beneath the photo of all different sizes, including the one we asked for. So let's take that one. Now I'd like you to click on the one that says 1024 by 768. And finally, we got to the image we wanted. Now I'm talking every step, right? So it seems like a lot. But if you want to review it from the handout, it goes step by step, just the basics. The main idea is get to the full size one before you download. All right, now if you're used to downloading photos, download this one. If you're not, this is what I'd like to say. Windows people, you should right click on it. Mac people, you should control click on it. In either case, you should get a similar menu. Yours is going to say save image as, or just save image, or something. Sometimes just save as. So do your best, take your best bet. Save image as is on the Macs currently. Click it. Now it's asking you where you want to save it. Frankly, I'm not happy with myself. After class, I grade myself. Because I would have typically had you make the folder first, but I didn't. Let's just save it to the desk now, okay? So we can find it easily. We have a folder we're gonna need to move it to. So right now, let's save it to the desktop. So I'm going on the left. I'm gonna click desktop. It's gonna be loose on my desktop. The name is very long, so I think I'm just gonna change it to Elephant. And simply click save. And that should be waiting for you on the desktop. All right. Anyone who's interested in getting their own photos for any purpose, please review the steps on today's handout. They're very current. This is not how it worked in the summer. So if you YouTube looking for help with this, you're probably going to get the wrong information unless it's a brand new article. Right? So this is the newest method that I find reliable. Does anybody have any questions yet? No? We're good?
We're good.
Good,
Yep.
all right. Now, some of you got today's assets already, but some of you did not. So let's get today's assets. So we don't need this particular browser. I'd like you to get back to the handout, however you like to do that, or the home page that we use. If you already got today's assets, you're ahead of me. So I'm going to click this. So that is Class 9 assets. I click it like we've done the last few classes. It's currently loading. It's a large 14 megabyte folder, so it's going to take a little while. So for a minute or two, let's forget about the elephant. We're about to get busy with the whole package, but I need those assets first. Once your assets, yes.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, don't be.
Professor, may I leave the session for a minute and then come back? I'm having problems with Zoom.
Got you. Yeah, by all means. You should be able to
Thank
get in
you.
automatically this
Okay,
time.
thank you.
You're welcome, Emily. All right. So once you've got it, please get to that zip. Now, each time I've made speeches about this, so I'm going to try to make it short. The fastest way on a Mac is just click the name of that zip file. It'll go to downloads for you, and it will unzip. If you're on Windows, you might need to do it a little differently, but by now I think you'd be the expert. We have to go find that file. All right, so since I'm on a Mac, that's the only option that I have. I clicked it, it took me right to the downloads folder. I didn't have to look for it. I see the zip there, but it unzipped it. All I want is the folder. Right? Mine is a slightly different name because there was other stuff in there from before, so don't be fooled. All right, now we're gonna be using that folder for the rest of today, right? So I'm gonna ask you if you would to put it wherever you typically work. Most of us don't work in the downloads folder. I'm going to put it on the desktop. And that's what I've been doing the last couple weeks. So I'm going to drag this out and drag it over the desktop. So I got my elephant sitting there loose on the desktop. An elephant on the loose. And my folder's on the desktop. So I'm going to go to the desktop now from here. By the way, I am going to ask you to move the elephant into today's folder. So if you're comfortable doing that on your own, go right ahead and do it. I'm in this desktop window, so I happen to see the elephant here. I'm just going to drag it right over the other folder. Now it's in there, and then open the folder. So this is what I'm asking you to do. Move the elephant in with your other stuff for today, and then open today's folder.
We're making different folders for each class, right?
Yes, but I do want to say something about that, Jerson. When we were doing web design, we had to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it would only work that way because every website we made, remember that we kept making these very tiny websites, they all had index.html.
Right.
And we couldn't use index1.html. They had to have that exact name. So the only way for that to work was to have separate folders.
Okay.
So not only was it wise, but it was necessary. When it comes to Photoshop, Photoshop doesn't care, to be honest. So it's really more about how we want to organize ourselves. So here I am in the folder, and you'll notice I've got the elephant. I've got this thing called Big Old Room. It's a really messy old room. And I got an extra images folder for anyone who might want it later. I put the elephant in there in case anyone couldn't find it, just as a backup. So if you're ever desperate. This is for anyone who wants to see if they could put that box in the room. So these are extra things you might want to play with. But right now, I want you to open this one in Photoshop. So in class, I've asked you to open Photoshop and then do File Menu Open. Now we've done that a few times. So I want to mention other options. Many computers let you do this. Control click a photo or right click it, and there's something like Open With, where you could choose what you want to open it with. So that's a fast way to Photoshop. Macs do that. I don't know as a fact that Windows does. Does Windows have something like that? Can you right click an image and then tell it to open with?
Yes.
Something? So that's great. Is it also called Open With?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, that's good for me to know. So that's the way I usually do it because it's so fast. Other people do this. This is a strange one. I don't like it so much, but it works. You could take the image and drag it all the way to the dock on the bottom of the screen, at least on a Mac, and drop it on Photoshop. So what I'm saying is there's at least 3 ways. There's actually more ways to open a photo. File Menu Open is the traditional way, and that's okay. But I'm just mentioning these others. So I want to do a few things with the image before we get the elephant and put it in the room, right? So step 1, please be sure that your rulers are turned on. So I've made a big deal about the rulers being on each day. So yours are probably still on. Mine are now off. The shortcut is Command R or Control R, or you just go to the View menu. You do need to be sure that they're in pixels. And you may be an expert on this by now. You know something, I just want to make sure that the student who had to leave because of Zoom got back in. you know, I want to make sure she didn't get locked out somehow. Give me 1 second.
I'm here.
You're here. Oh, great.
Yeah.
There you are. Excellent. All right,
Thank
good.
you.
You're welcome. Okay. So once your rulers are on, always check that they're in pixels for multimedia, right? For web design, video, animation. So the way you do that is you click either on the horizontal ruler or this one, the vertical one, but you have to right click or control click. So I'm in pixels now, so that's fine. So if you look at this image, it's over 1600 pixels wide. And it's bigger than I want it to be. So let's stop for a moment. So I've been using the internet as a good way to talk about images. You know, for a long time, the standard biggest size was 960. And that was because monitors were set to 1024 pixels wide. And we left a little room for scroll bars and other junk and shaved it down to 960. And then for a long time, that became a rule. But now, so many of you have monitors set to really high numbers, 2000 pixels wide, 2500 pixels wide. So those numbers are feeling small. So what we're going to work with right now is a little bigger than we've been working. I want to get this one down to 1280. It's one of the common screen resolutions, one of the most common in the world, right? And mostly everybody has at least 1280 now or more. So at this point, 1280 is a pretty safe width. This isn't, not for everyone. So let's go to image size. So here we are in Photoshop. Let's go up to where the menus live up top and choose image menu to image size. And all I want you to do is check that this says pixels before we do anything. Now, if yours doesn't say pixels, you click here, you might not even see it. So strangely, to get the pixel measurement, this is an odd one. You do have to click this feature that says Resample. This does all kinds of things, but right now I just want to keep it very, very direct. Turn on Resample so you can come here and change it to pixels. All right, I'd like you to change your width to 1280. 1280. You notice it changed the height for you, so that's kind of nice, right? And if you look up, it's telling you that the file size went down. It was 5 megabytes, but now it's about 3. So that's kind of cool. Let's just click OK. I want to make a small couple of points. You're all going into different majors. Some are going to need a lot of this, and some are going to need little, maybe even none. So what's going to happen is your attitudes about these steps are going to change based on your needs. So for example, if you're going into video, you're working at a given place or you're with a given teacher and every video is the same size. Let's say they give you a number. We're going to do all our videos, this particular widescreen shape. Here's your numbers. Those are the numbers you need to remember when you're going to get photos for that movie. There's no way for me to guess. You know, if you're going into publishing, you work at a magazine, it's going to have different rules. But this is the start. Okay. Does anybody have any questions yet? I know some of this is clear, some of it's kind of vague.
Hey, Professor.
Yes.
No, I'm just gonna restart the computer because I finally figured out how to put everything in English. Because this Spanish was having me. No, like I was already used to like looking at everything in English, but I finally figured out how to put it in Spanish.
Okay.
So I need to just restart the computer for everything to change. So
Okay.
I'll be back. Is that okay?
Yeah. Look, your stuff in your folder's still there, so you won't be too far behind.
No, yeah, it just restarts just for the language. Everything's gonna be in the same spot.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay.
So the next couple things are mostly review anyway. I want to
Okay.
do a little bit of levels, and then I want to clean up the room a little bit. I like the messy look, but there's some things I don't like, so I want to get rid of some of the mess. Let's start with levels, though. All right. So back in Photoshop, if you remember how to use levels, then you can get started. Command L. I'm going to make mine a little bigger, though. Let me just... All right, Command L. Oh, we did this twice before, so I'm going to make this very fast. These three sliders control different ranges. This white one's going to control anything very light, like these highlights back there, the windows, maybe some of the lights on the wall. This one here is going to control anything that's middle. It's not light, it's not dark. Turns out most of this picture's in the middle, right? So this slider is going to have a lot of effect. This one here only controls the darks. So that's these doorways, these dark little pebbles, these shadows. Now the rules are, whichever one you pick, right makes it darker. So let's take this one and make the darks darker. So I'm getting some mood. If you wanted to change the lights, you take the light slider. Now moving it left would make the lights lighter. You don't have to. It's up to you. So left is always lighter, right is always darker. The question is, which slider do you want? I typically start with the darks first, then the lights. I always do this one last. Left will be lighter, right will be darker, and this is the most powerful one for this image because the image is mostly midtones. So here it is lighter. You know, it's clean, it pops, and if that's what I want, there's gonna be a big elephant in there. If I want drama, I'll probably go a little darker. So feel free to play with these to get what you want out of it. No darks. Nah, I want some darks. Less lights. Nah, I like the lights. And the midtones here, I'm just darkening them a little bit. When you got something you like, click OK. I want to remind you, though, that the history palette can usually be gotten from here, from this little symbol on this strange bar. But not everyone has this bar out. The most reliable place to get the history palette is the window menu. And the only reason I bring it up is I like to compare it to the last steps. So here is this milky looking image. This is what I had from the internet. This is what it looks like when I corrected it. Thurston, that sounds tasty. You want to turn your mic off? Yeah, making me hungry.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. Okay. All right. Do you like your levels? So again, if you don't, go back one step on the history palette and try new levels. I love the history palette. All right. I want to review something that we only did very briefly, and we really need a little practice with it, and that is the clone stamp tool. The clone stamp. So we have another chance to do the clone stamp. That's this tool here. And I hope it's still out from the other day, right? But if you weren't here, press the letter S on your keyboard. It'll take you to this tool or to this set of tools. I don't want the pattern stamp. I want the clone stamp. Now, before I go into that review, I'm going to open up my navigator. You might want to do the same. Window menu, navigator. I will often leave this out. Where'd my navigator go? It's hiding from me. Sorry, guys. All right, this is what I'm looking for. So you might remember that the navigator is a very convenient way to zoom in. And what I like best is the red box shows me where I am. So I want to show you something simple. I'm coming to the foreground here, and I've got a lot of rocks. I'm going to take this one out. Now, I'm zooming in so I can see my victim. And I also want to see if there's part of the floor that I could borrow that would look better. So I don't want this crack, so I'm not going to borrow that. I'm going to borrow right in front of the crack. Now, I want to show you guys something. Do you see that little hand? I hope you could tell that there's a circle there. That's my brush. So the clone stamp has a brush. I'm holding down my space bar to show you the hand just so you could find it. It bothers me that the line is so skinny, I often lose it. I looked it up on the internet because it didn't used to look like that, and there were hundreds of people complaining, but there was no solution. So you might have to find that little circle. All right. All right, so bear with me. You've zoomed in, so you're clear about where you're going to work. You've got yourself the rubber stamp, or this used to be called the rubber stamp, the clone stamp, right? And we're almost ready, but there's one thing you have to do still. The clone stamp acts like a brush. So even though it doesn't paint colors, right? It paints with borrowed pixels, it's still a brush. So you want it to be the right size and the right softness. So we come up here in the top left and you click on this little circle to get these two features, size and hardness, just these two. If you raise it up a little bit, you bring it off to the side, you should be able to see how big it is. It's very hard to see on my screen, I realize, because they made it very pale. There we go, right? Against the window is easy. Right, is that too big? I want it to be a little bit bigger than that rock. So that might be good. Oops. Sorry, just squiggled all over the place. So I'm going to recommend about 75 pixels. Now about the hardness slider. If I want to paint onto the floor, I don't want anyone to see any marks. So I'm going to keep the hardness slider down to 0. And this way it's a very soft brush. You won't see its edges. Once you've made your choices, hit return. All right, now we're ready to use it, and I'm going to ask for everybody to watch very closely. Now, some of you guys were skipping the option key last time. Mac people, you need the option key. Windows people, you need the alt key. And here's the trick. You hold it down, but you don't click anywhere. You click where you think the pixels look best for your purpose. So I'm going to borrow some of this. So I hold down option. I click here once, then I let go of the mouse, and I let go of the option key. You option click just once, and then you let go. Now I want you to see why. When I start to paint, I'm not holding any keys. The crosshair is showing me the pixels I just borrowed. The circle is painting them. I just made a little damage up here, so I'm going to option click here to borrow these pixels. Then I let go, and I come over here and I paint. And no one's going to know. Now, while you're trying that out, I want to say a few things. If it went well, try to paint something else out. The trick is to find something nearby that looks like it has pixels to borrow. Like, look, if you wanted to take my mustache out, it would be very difficult, but I would probably borrow some of this skin here, right? I'd option click here, let go, and then I'd come here and start to paint. But as soon as it went wrong, if I started to copy my chin or nose or something, I would stop. I might have to back up. Otherwise, I would option click something different and make a different choice. So a professional has one finger waiting over the option key, just sort of hovering there, so they could press and click to borrow new pixels. Now, Shuying, how's it going? The other day we had trouble, but now you got it, I figured. Diamond, do you need a hand?
Yes, I can. It won't let me. It says that I couldn't use a clone stamp because the area clone could not be defined.
Gotcha. So this is probably what you skipped. Have a look. Diamond, are you on a Mac or Windows?
Windows.
Windows, right? So you're gonna hold down the Alt key. Watch, I'm gonna take this box out of the back wall. So you hold down your Alt key, right? But don't click, just hold it down. You should see this weird little cursor. Do you see it on yours?
Yes.
All right, now you keep the Alt key down and you click on an area that you'd like to steal from. Hang on a minute. So you option click, Alt click, then you let go of your mouse, you let go of Alt. When you move over, it knows what pixels you want to borrow. If it says that it doesn't, you didn't Alt click. Still not working?
No, it worked.
It did work. Okay.
Thank
So
you.
once you get it once or twice, you just sort of have it, you know? So I just want to say a little bit about this tool. It's incredibly powerful, right? It does absolute magic. It's part of a team of tools that relate to it. And I'm not going to go over all of them, but they're all very related. They all borrow this idea of stealing useful pixels. Right? If I had a scar here, I'd want to borrow skin that matched it. You know, I wouldn't go borrowing it from my palm, which is too light. This is the same idea. It's almost like a skin graft. Think of it as a pixel graft. Anybody have any questions about this tool? So this is what I'd like you to do before we move on. I'd like you to pick anything you want to get rid of. Like if I don't like this vertical stripe here, I'm going to hold down Option, borrow some of this. If the brush is too big, you can go change it, and it's gone. So anything you don't want, you have to pick something that looks believable and put it there. So I've just Option clicked 4 different times just for this one little operation. I like this face, I'm going to leave it. And I do like the garbage, so I'm going to leave a bunch of it, maybe not all of it. All right, I'm going to leave that topic. I just want to say 1 or 2 bits of advice. Usually, if you brush too much and things are going wrong, you should probably Command Z or get out the history palette. Because if you try to fix errors with more cloning, you just cloning, because everything's an error, it's going to turn into a blob. So it takes a little bit of practice and some strategy. All right. All right, so we have a 1280 pixel room. We've got an elephant that's over 1,000 pixels already that we chose ourselves from the internet, that's legal and ready. What we want to do is move the elephant into this room. So one thing I think we should do is save this document correctly before we move forward. I didn't do that on Tuesday, and I felt bad about it because I almost crashed. I almost lost my work. So let's do this together. Don't do File Menu Save. Don't just do File Menu Save. And I want to tell you why. Let me just see, there's somebody at my door. Hey there. Okay. I want to use Save As because remember we opened up this file called Big Old Room, and I might want to use that room again. So if I save over it, I'm saving all these changes, and there's going to be an elephant in there before you know it, right? So I'd rather do Save As and just save it as a new document with a new name. So let's do File Menu, Save As. I'm going to call this room and elephant, because we're going to put the elephant in there pretty soon. And I'm looking down here, and the format is currently a JPEG. That's okay. I'm going to leave it for the moment. There's other strategies, but I'm going to leave it. Thing is, I'm about to save it. Oh, I'm in the right folder. Please be sure to save it into your folder, just so you don't get lost. You know, I think it was Jerson was asking me about that before. Photoshop's kind of generous, doesn't really care about the folders, but you don't want to get lost. So, all right, so I'm saving it in there. JPEG option shows up. I'd like you to set that to medium and click OK. So if you look at the tab, your photo's got a new name now, right? The other one's still in the folder the way it was last time you saved it. And if you never saved it, it looks just like the original room. This one's all yours. Could everybody open the elephant? So you could do File Menu Open right from Photoshop, or you could go back to your folder. Here's the elephant. I'm going to use the newer trick. I'm going to Control click it or right click it. Open with Photoshop. File menu is just as good. I want to do 2 things with you on this. I want to go over one simple tool we explored on Tuesday, a new favorite tool of mine, and a much more advanced tool, but they're both for selecting. So before we do that, let's clarify an idea. If you had a photo of a guy and you wanted to put a hat on him, You'd go online and you try to find the kind of hat you want. You try to find one at the right angle, right? Big enough, could be too big, that's fine. And I'd bring it in on a layer and I'd, squeeze it down to the right size. But I might have to select the hat first. So selection is a big deal. There are so many ways to select. It's kind of overwhelming, right? So we tried a lasso tool. We tried one lasso tool so far. I want to try two different tools today. One is this amazing tool. Hang on a second. Way over here, this tool. And it's a newish tool called the Object Selection Tool, right? In the little video there, it shows that mug and that cup really easily. We'll see how well it does with the elephant. Now, if you can't find it, it does use the letter W. So if you happen to be in a different tool, just press W. It'll take you to that set, but you still have to press on it because the magic wand, which we used before, is there. The quick selection tool, we want the one called Object Selection. We tried this the other day. What I want you to do is drag over the elephant, but try to leave out as much as you can. In other words, I just chose more sky than I needed, and that might confuse this tool. So don't leave any of the elephant out. But you could leave out the sky. My wife is smiling at me. That's nice. Ira at work. That's Maricel. She's taking a picture of us. All right, there we go. Life goes on. All right. So mine worked pretty well, but it left out part of his tusk. That's a problem. Did yours work okay?
Sorry, Professor. What tool was it again?
Yeah, let me do that again.
So which
That's this tool here. It's called the Object Selection Tool. But if you can't find it, press W on the keyboard, press whatever tool it took you to, keep your mouse down on it, and you'll see there are three tools hiding. We want the Object Selection Tool.
Okay, thank you.
Did you find it, David?
Yeah.
Welcome. This tool's the best. I mean, sometimes it gets the selection faster than I've ever seen. I've been using Photoshop for 20 years and I cannot believe what this tool can do. But if this elephant had gray objects near it, it probably would have confused those objects for the elephant. So it really, I'm surprised it didn't get the tusks. Mine cut off half the tusk, so we're gonna have to fix it. Any other questions? Did you guys get a close selection? We're gonna perfect it now though. Anybody?
Yeah, it worked fine, but it left the task of the elephant.
Right. Oh yeah, mine too. The end of the trunk got cut off. Let's fix it.
Yeah, same thing here.
Yeah, so you know what? You know, the thing about this tool is sometimes it's the best. Like if there's a bird on that flat blue sky, it would have been perfect because no bird is that color really, you know, and the sky's so flat. But the more complicated the background, the weirder it gets. But it's a head start. So all we got to do is perfect it instead of do it ourselves, which would be very slow. So this is what I'd like you to do. First off, get your navigator where you could see it. If your navigator is not out, go to the window menu and find it. Remember, this menu is in alphabetical order. Navigator. Window menu, navigator. I want you to zoom in because what we're going to do is going to be very delicate. So we're using this slider. Then click inside the red box and pick an area you want to try. So you'll see the snout is left out. I'll prove it to you. Don't do this, right? But I just want you to see, right? This part's left out. So that's not good. Part of the trunk is left out. And if you drag around, you can find other errors. Here I've got some of the floor. I don't want that. Same on the legs are a mess. The tail, man, I really don't want to select that tail. So I'm going to cheat when it comes to the tail. The back is perfect though because of the clean blue sky. So I want you to drag that box to an area you want to start on. All right. I'm going to introduce you to an incredibly powerful feature. It's slightly advanced and it's called Quick Mask. Now the way Quick Mask works is you start with a selection you made with any tool, the lasso, this object selection tool, any tool, and then you click into quick mask mode, which you're going to do with me now. Could you look at the bottom of the toolbar? And at the bottom of the toolbar, almost the bottom, is a little circle in a square. So I'm circling around it so you can find it. Now, when you click it, what you should be seeing is a lot of the image just went red. Now, is anyone not finding that quick mask button?
How did you do that?
Diamond, did you not find it, or you do have it?
I didn't find it. I don't know what's happening right now.
Really? It's not at the bottom of the toolbar?
Okay, I found it.
Great, cool. So you're gonna love this. Now here's the way that it works. Red means not selected, right? Everything that isn't red is currently selected. So anytime I click off, I see the usual selection. So this is a way where you could paint selection. Let me introduce an idea that's very intense, and we're not gonna go there right now. But what if I had to select smoke? That's complicated because the edges are very soft. Also, the smoke itself is transparent. I'd need to paint a selection so I could change brushes, soft brushes, which I can't do with the other selection tools. So this is a way to paint a selection. Now, how does it work? All right, I'd like you to go back to the toolbar and click this tool. It's the plain old brush tool. It looks like a brush. You could tap B on the keyboard, B for brush. There are other tools there, so I'm going to press on mine to show you. There's a pencil. There's the color replacement tool. That's new. There's the mixer brush. That's also new. We just want definitely the brush. Now, when you choose the brush, black and white just showed up at the bottom of the toolbar. Now, why is that? Black will paint more quick mask. I'm going to do it so you can see, right? White will take away quick mask. Now, notice this right here. I'd like you to look at the bottom of my toolbar. I press X and they switch. Could you press X and look at your colors, watch them switch? Now, we need that because you're going to switch back and forth, black, white, as you need it. I'm going to be the guinea pig, so watch this. I'm going to fix the snout. Oops, hang on a second. Oh, no. This new feature just got me. Hang on a second. This rotation thing is, hang on a minute there. I'm not used to this particular feature. It's one that I'm not familiar with. It's usually an option here. Straighten it out. Embarrassing. Give me 1 second there. All right. I don't know what I just did. There we go. All right, there we go. I'm going back to the brush. Okay, I'm going to zoom way in, get right to that snout because that's the problem. White removes mask. So I want to see which one's in front. If I need the white in front, I tap the X key. I got my paintbrush ready, and I just want to see how big it is. My paintbrush is very big. You could see it up on his tusk. So I'm going to make it smaller than that. Hit return to accept that brush. Now watch this. I'm taking the mask out. If I feel like I need a sharp edge, I'll go back to the brushes and I'll make sure the hardness is at 100. And I'll hit return. And I'm going to do some surgery in here. And when I'm done with this and I click out a quick mask, you're going to see how perfect the selection is. I just went a little too far outside. Whoops. That's what black is for. Black replaces mask. So I'm going to bring the black to the front and I'm going to come from outside and fix it. I know it's a little odd that black paints the red mask, but that is how it works, right? When I click back on the quick mask button, you'll see what happened. it changed the shape of the selection. It's a great way to perfect it. So it depends how uptight you're feeling, how specific you want to be. Adobe really has to fix that the brush is so hard to find. All right, but whenever you're ready, you could use your navigator to get to the next spot, and I'd like you to move forward without me. I want to mention something to those of you who are really enjoying this. If you just want to change brush size quickly, you could use the bracket keys next to the letter P. Left bracket means smaller. Right bracket means bigger. And any tool that uses brush sizes like the clone stamp will let you do that. So this kind of work kind of helps to be able to change the brush layout. Just remember, black adds mask. White takes away. Yeah, I bet you a lot of you had trouble with the tusks. I did. So I'm going to make myself a small brush. I'm using the left bracket key. It's right next to the letter P. I need some white. You know, if the object tool that we use, that new object selection tool, worked better, I wouldn't have to do this. But I have to say, though, it did most of the work, so I'm not going to complain.
How did you make the background red?
You have to click this, look at the bottom of the toolbar, Diamond. The quick mask button, it looks like a square with a circle in it.
Yep.
So look at the bottom, you see, did you find it?
Yep.
Great. So you could skip, you can go in and out of that with no problem. You know, it's what I'll often do is I'll fix the mask a little bit, and then I'll click there to see how it looks. You know, and again, if this was a big project, I'm going around the edge of the elephant, by the way. I'm using the navigator to, you know, just see where there are problems. That tail is really a mess, and I don't really want to deal with it, so I'm going to cheat. Rather than leave it half there, I'm going to just take the whole tail out. No one's looking for it. But there's all kinds of trouble around the legs. So remember, black will add the mask, even though the mask is red. I even want the shadows out because I'd rather make once he's in the room. And I often have to switch to white. That's why I like the X key. It just switches them automatically. I don't even have to look. After a while, you start getting, you know, a kind of a feel for when you want black and when you want white. And by the way, if I was doing smoke or anything, I could get grays, but that's really hard to think that way. That means it's semi-selected, so it would wind up being transparent. That's much harder. You can move around your elephant as you see fit, just to check out that everything's the way you want. Some of this stuff is definitely going to be easier here than after we bring it into the room. Some of it. So, you know, really, one thing I want to say to you is a lot of this depends on what you're going to use it for. A lot of this depends on what you're going to use it for. Now, like if I was going to put this in a movie and I know I was going to zoom in on that elephant, I'd make sure it was really perfect. But if he was just part of a herd in the background, I'd keep it very simple. So I see stuff that I would really need to fix if I was going to get close up like this, but I'm not intending on doing that. So I think I'm good. How are you guys? So I got to say something. Not everybody likes this. Some people hate it, but other people just love it because it really gives you a lot of magic opportunity. It can be slow. You know, really, just be glad it's not a few years back. You would have had to do the entire elephant, not just fix it. You know, you would have to do the whole thing yourself. Just imagine selecting someone with hair like that. You know, it's like, forget it. Really, I just don't want to do it. I'm not going to go around separate hairs, you know. In fact, if I had to do that, I would YouTube, because somebody out there figured out a magic way to do it, you know, the best way. All right. So whenever you're ready, get a look at your whole elephant. And the best way to do that, you know, you could just zoom back using the navigator, but you could have also just done Command 0, which just means show me everything. See it, kiddo? All right. Now, to move forward, we have to get the selection back. So after your mask looks right, go back to the bottom of the toolbar where you saw the quick mask button and click it again. Okay, let's be careful, because if you click with the selection tool now, you're going to lose the selection. We'll have to start over. Right now, could everyone Command C to copy the elephant, or edit menu copy? So Command C, Control C, or the edit menu.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that
What?
again?
Well, if you're, are you still in the mask? Do you see the
Yeah,
red stuff?
uh-huh.
Gotcha. So when you're done masking, you go back to the mask button. Remember, that was down here toward the bottom of the toolbar. And click it again. So you won't see red anymore. You'll just see the marquee, what we call marching ants, around the elephant. Did that work, Emily?
Okay, got it.
Got it?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that
Thank
button's
you.
small. It's easy to forget, but it's super powerful, and it's always there at the bottom of the tools. All right, then you see a selected elephant, Command C, because we're ready to take it into the room. So we did Command C. I'd like you then to go to the room and paste. Get back to your room, Command V to paste. The cat wants to say hi. Hey, say hello to the class.
Aww.
She's my buddy. All right. All right, so we got an elephant in the room, right? The famous elephant in the room. The thing about it is mine does not match the light of the room at all. So I'm going to start with levels to make them match. So I wanted to say something artistic, and it's not so much about technology. So every room has a certain kind of light at any given moment, especially if there are windows. The light in the room changes as the light outside the window changes. But also, do you have fluorescent lights? Do you have incandescent lights, floodlights, spotlights? All of this changes the room. Also, is the room a color? I'm in a white room now. It doesn't have a lot of color, but there's a pink room upstairs, and everything's going to be pink in there. So a blue ball is going to feel kind of purple in the pink room. A yellow ball is going to feel kind of orange, you know, in the pink room, because that pink is going to mix. But also just dark and light. My room has a lot of dark. My elephant looks washed out. So I'm going to do levels. Now, before you do, or even if you've started, get a look at your layers. We've been using layers last few days. So your layer palette here is showing you that there's a layer with just the elephant and another layer with just the room. Okay. Make sure you're on the elephant layer and do Command L. Now by now you know the rules. So I added a lot of darks to the room, and the elephant doesn't match it, so I'm going to add some darks to the elephant. He already looks quite a bit better. Doesn't look like he's outside in the strong sun anymore. There are some strong lights in this room, though, coming from the window. And that's, you know, we'll see if I could add a little light just from here. So I'm going to take the light slider and move it in. And he looks even more like he belongs in this room. The mid slider is always the hardest one to guess. So I'll generally try it left, and I'll try it right. There it is to the left, and it's okay. Here it is to the right. There it is too far to the right. So I'm going to find something that feels believable to me. And when it hits the right spot, the sweet spot, click OK. And remember, you could always go to your history palette if you want to change your mind. So that elephant was just the right size, wasn't it? You know, and that's because I was thinking about it earlier. I made the room into 1280 pixels and I thought, okay, my elephant should be, you know, under that, but pretty big, you know, around 1,000 pixels. So we got ourselves 1,000 pixel elephant when we went to Wiki, right? So we're in good shape. Now, if you wanted your elephant to be smaller, you could surely do it with Command T. Now we did that with the duck. I just want to say a quick word about it. Command T will work just on the layer you're on. And I could make the elephant smaller, which is kind of fun. But I couldn't make him bigger because if I do, he's going to start to get blurry and jagged. So there's some residue on the edges. So I don't want to do that. Usually you'll avoid making something bigger and you'll just make it smaller. You can't go in that room. All right. What else? I'm just taking a look at my recommended list that I made for myself of things I wanted to cover with you. I think I want to go over a little dodge and burn with you because you did burn once or twice and you did dodge once or twice, but we have a chance to get to know it a little bit better. These tools are in the same set. And it's the letter O that takes you there. But then you have to press on it to see what's available. I want to tell you what they are. Remind you. The dodge tool is to lighten things like levels, except for you paint the lightness on. So that's the one that looks like a lollipop. The burn tool does the opposite. It just darkens pixels, and it works well with some colors, and it doesn't work with others. Here, you try to darken a yellow object, it gets kind of greenish. But I think it'll work good on the elephant, well on the elephant. The sponge tool isn't going to help us much with an elephant. What it does is it just pumps up color or reduces color. It saturates or it desaturates. I'm going to start with the burn tool. Now, quick reminders about the burn tool. The burn tool, like a lot of Photoshop elements, wants to know what you intend to work on. I want to show you something. Look what happens if I try to burn the window. So here I am on the window. Nothing. But if I go nearby, give me a minute. There we go. I just want to prove something to you. The window's not burning, but next to the window is. Why is that? Right? I want to show you why. It's because the options are way up top. So everybody take a look with me. You get the burn tool, look up here. I had the range set to shadows. That means dark. So it's only going to darken things that are already dark. So it ignores the window. That's amazing. I'm going to go to the elephant layer and show you something. If I burned here on his face, watch what happens when I hit the tusk. It just skipped the tusk. Now, that's cool because I don't have to select a part to burn it. The tool itself knows what to ignore and what to pay attention to. That's great. So this elephant here, I want to darken the legs because they're close to the floor and it feels to me that they would be darker, right? So they look like midtones to me. So I got my burn tool, I'm going to the top and I'm changing the range to midtones. Exposure set to 50, that's the default. That's like turning up the oven or turning down the oven. I'm going to start at 50. And I'm just coming down to his feet. So I'm darkening the foot a little bit. I like that a lot. So I'm going to do it on the other foot. It really feels more planted on the ground. And this one in the back looks like, I don't know what he's about to do. I feel like putting something underneath there. But for right now, I'm just going to darken it where it's going to make it feel a little bit more believable. If there's anywhere else you'd like to darken, you could. So notice the strong light's coming from the left windows. And it agrees very much with the shadows on the elephant. If I wanted to exaggerate it, I just have to imagine where the shadows would be. And I could start to hand darken areas to exaggerate that sense of shadow. There's light coming from the opposite side, so I want to be careful. about what I do. And I could make larger brushes or smaller brushes like I did with other tools. Now you guys have a little bit of experience with this tool, but I happen to love it. I use it often together with levels. I start with levels and then I come in and get more specific. We only used Dodge on Tuesday for the first time. We lightened up parts of the camel. I'm going to do a little bit of dodging here because the lights from those windows is very strong. So I'm going to try it. I'm done burning, so I'm going back to that little set, same set, and I'm pressing on it to find the dodge tool. That tool follows the same rules. The difference is it will make your choice lighter. This is a mid-tone elephant, so I'm going to stick with mid-tones for this tool also. And putting the exposure in the middle just to get started. And I'm going to add a little bit of light on the front of the elephant. That looked good. I think I'm going to do a little bit on the edge of like the hindquarters there, closest to the window. Maybe little bits. So I'm really kind of imagining where the light faces while I do this. And it's a nuanced thing. I want to show you guys something on my history palette just to see if that improved or not. Here's my history palette. I wanted to show you what the elephant looked like before I did all this burning and dodging. So I'm backing way up here. That's the original elephant. He looked pretty good, really did. Here's the elephant after all the dodging and burning, and I like it even more. How are you? Good. So, I got to tell you something. The only thing about my class is like just about everything's pretty darn cool, the different modules, but they're light. It's like going to a place where you get to taste all these different foods. But if you're feeling this, you feel the need for it or just the desire, the trick is finding more stuff to put in the room. That's the trick of whether you're really starting to get this or not. Just to play more with what I would love to put a little mouse in there. Some other stuff. All right. I think what I want to do is, this has gone smoother than I expected today. So, I want to show you something. This is going to be a little hard. I just want to show you a couple things. We might not make this one work. If we don't like it, we're going to throw it out, right? What I'd like you to do is get a look in your folder for a minute. And you notice there's a folder there called Extra Images. So if you open that up, so this is a spare elephant. We don't really need that. This box here is a challenge to put in the room, but it's possible, right? So that's what I'm going to try. This would be funny, but I don't think I'm going to do it right now, or this. So I'm going to get the box. I'm going to ask you if you'd like to join me, right? Because we're only going to get a little taste of this one. Open the box in Photoshop. So step one was selecting it. And I'm going to try the object selection tool. I'm not sure it's going to work because the shadow on the floor is so close to the same color as the box, but I'm going to try it. So that I opened it from the folder. I'm going back to this tool here, the object selection tool. Remember, we pressed W to find it. It came with these other tools. Object selection. And I'm going to drag over the object and see how well it goes. It's pretty good, but the bottom of the box is pretty messed up. The rest of it looks pretty good. I'm going to have to go do a little bit of surgery with my quick mask. I'm going to zoom in, find the part I don't like. And now I'm going to click the quick mask button. Same rules as before. So remember, it's that odd little button at the bottom of the toolbar, almost the bottom of the toolbar. It's a circle in a rectangle. And I'm going to get my paintbrush. And I'm making it bigger. So black is going to let me add some. Look, I hope I'm not overdoing it, but here's a great trick. If you need a straight line, watch this. You click once, hold down Shift, click way on the opposite side, and you get a straight line. Nice. I'm going to do that again. You click once, hold down Shift, click on the opposite side, and that's pretty cool. That wasn't so bad. This edge is really messy. I am tempted to clean this up. And I'm just going to use my navigator and just get a quick look. So again, it really depends on the project, how important it is to you, how far you're going to go with this kind of thing. Ooh. This is going to need some white, so I'm going to switch to white. I use my X key. I'm using my bracket keys a lot to change brush size for these corners. And there's the whole image. So for the record, you know, it's about 225 right now, so I'm not going to go in there and get crazy with every little detail on that box, you know, but the assets are available all semester. You can go back anytime, borrow my assets. Now you know how to find your own legally on Google Images. In any case, once it's selected, the mask looks right. I'm going to click the Quick Mask button again to see it as a selection, right? By the way, if I was staying in this image, I would do my corrections here. You know, for example, I'm not going to stay here, so I'm going to back out of this idea, but I just want to make a point. I would, let me just get this out of here. I could do levels on the box by itself. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to wait till I get to the room. You know, but I could just change the selection. I'm going to cancel out of there. Instead, I'm going to copy and paste it in there with the elephant. So when you're ready, you Command C it. This you already know. You go back to the host of the party, you know, the big image we made, and you paste it. That's one big box. So I'm going to have to use Command T to make it smaller. We did that with the duck the first time we tried it. So I'm going to do Command T, make it smaller. I want to say a couple words about the strange angle of the box. You know, clearly somebody was standing over that box when they took the photograph, and they were looking at the elephant. So the photographs are different, two different angles. That's what makes the box so hard. If I really needed this, I would spend time on the internet till I found a box that was perfect. You know, I need to see the top of the box because, you know, I'm looking down at the floor, but not that much. But if I can't find a perfect box, I'm going to use a special set of tricks. Command T, right, let you scale, but it does more than that. So take a look at this. There's my box. I'm going to zoom in so it's easy for people to see. And I'm on the box layer. I do Command T. Now here's the thing. You already know that this scales. That's not a surprise. But it rotates, and that's helpful. So to rotate, don't grab a corner. Go just outside the corner. And that's already looking a lot better. But what else can I do? This is pretty advanced, but it's easy. So you might like it. I could move those handles on the box separately, and it's called Distort. So I have to hold down Command if I do it on a Mac, and I have to hold down Control if I do it on Windows. But watch how it works. I'm holding down Command on my Mac, and I'm going to take just one handle and bring it down. And I'm distorting the box to try to imitate the perspective in the room. I'm going to back up a little bit. And it's pretty close to what I want. So I'm holding down Command so that it's not scaling anymore. It's just distorting it by reshaping this box, this bounding box. I'm going to hit return when I'm ready. Any questions? You know, that box doesn't look right because the light's all wrong on it. You know, I'm going to try some levels on it, but I might have to dodge and burn. I mean, the flaps are very light. They feel like just too light for where I put it. I should have probably put it near the window. I think I would have gotten away with it, but I didn't do that. And I guess I'm just going to do some quick levels. Do I want to darken it? That's just the, you remember, that's just the darks darkening there. I think it's the midtones that really want to darken. Ooh, that helped. Thing is, if I want to darken the highlights like this and this one will not move to the right. It's up against the wall. These are my emergency sliders. These go in the opposite direction for when you're stuck against the wall. So I have to go the other way on this one to darken those highlights a bit. Could have gotten the burn tool. All right, I want to add something while you're working. That's fine if you're working. You know, I really need to burn the floor. You know, where that box is touching the floor, its flaps are out there. It's going to create a bunch of shadow underneath itself. So it doesn't look right till I change that. I might need some shadow by the feet of the elephant, the hoofs of the elephant. But right now, since I'm talking about the box, here's the trick you want to remember. To burn, you need pixels. So I can't burn here or anywhere unless I'm on the background layer, because that's where those pixels are. I'm going to darken the floor. So I have to go to the layer that owns the floor. I'm going to zoom in a bit. And I'm going to get my burn tool. All right, that's the letter O. I think you have to press to find it. And let's see, that looks like it's a mid-tone floor, maybe a shadow level floor, but I'm going to try mid-tones first. That seemed to help. So I'm not darkening the box because I'm on the lower layer, even though it looks like I am. And that looks a lot better. I like it so much, I'm going to do it over here also. I'm trying to consider, this one just landed in a good spot, so it doesn't really need as much. And I'm considering, you know, where the windows. This foot, I'm not really sure what to do with. If I want to imply that he's lifting it, then I'll put the shadow a little further down. And there is the infamous elephant in a room. Mine looks like he's kind of stealing a peek at the box. Like, what's in there? Maybe some peanuts or in that box. I don't know.
Maybe it's an elephant stealing something at the warehouse with the box there.
That's it. This is the sad future of Amazon. All right. So guys, that was a lot of fun. I just want to mention a couple closing things. So typically, well, there's one thing you have to know right off the bat. Next time you save this, it won't be a JPEG. That's weird. You know, it was a JPEG, but you added layers. So as soon as you save an object that has layers, it's going to save it as a PSD. So there'll be yet another file in your folder. Let's do it, right? So even if you do save or save as in this one case, it's still going to open up a window because it knows you're changing format. You know, when you do it on purpose, you do file menu save as, but this one won't even give you a choice. So even if you did file menu save, look what happens. Usually it won't open this window except for the first time. This time it did because it wanted you to see that it's a PSD. And if you don't have your extensions turned on, you'll see it here. Photoshop document. So it's a PSD. I am in the right folder. So I got big old room JPEG over there. I got room and elephant JPEG. And now I got this one here that's got all the layers in it. This is now the boss PSD. And I'm going to save it. That means you're safe, right? It could crash or whatever, or you could open it tomorrow and continue it. It also means that you could give your client what they ask for. So somebody's working at a magazine, they might like TIFF, and I could do save as and make a TIFF. I got a friend who's building the website. He says, look, we need a JPEG. Save as, I'll make myself a JPEG, right? Those are all flattened, so they won't have layers, but they're good for bringing into InDesign to make the magazine, or bring it into HTML to put it on your web page. You know, so we would just do save as again. Does anybody have any questions for me or special requests? None. So I'm going to wrap it up. I do want to say very quickly that one thing we didn't use today, but we played with it before, was hue saturation. And now I've got 3 objects on 3 different layers that each could be tinted if I wanted. And it would be easy enough to do. I'm on the room layer, the one at the bottom, Command U, and I can change its color. And if that made me want to change the elephant, I'd go to the elephant layer, Command U, and I could change its color. I could go with a matching kind of color. I'm trusting my eyes right now. I'm not even looking at the U slider. I could go with a high contrast kind of color. I got a pink room and I'm making a green elephant, so they're color opposites. It doesn't like this feature. I almost crashed doing this last time. This time I saved at least. It just moved. That's weird. So I just lowered the saturation on my green elephant. So one could have a lot of fun with hue saturation. Oops. I'm on the box layer, by the way. And this purple box. I think that could also work in a pink room if it's not too loud. There we go. And there we have it. I'll just save again, plain old save. It knows it's PSD and it knows its folder. Folks, that was a lot of fun. And I want to tell you what I have in store. So I used montage as a way to talk about typical Photoshop elements, sizes, dark and light, and how to work with multiple images. It's not always as wild as these things. Sometimes it's just, there's the model and you have to make them look better, make her look better. But there's a lot of the similar steps. Next time I see you, I'm going to save about a half an hour to use the photo in some HTML, just to start us thinking that way again, right? So that's next Thursday. And then the class after that, we're going to switch back to HTML briefly, HTML and CSS, just before the midterm. So that's our path. Any last questions? None? Guys, that was fun. It was a pleasure seeing you all. I won't see you for a whole week, so have a good week. If you celebrate, it's a Jewish holiday on Monday. It's not really, it's a sad holiday, really. Remembrance of the dead kind of thing. But, you know, if you celebrate, I wish you the best, I guess is the best way to put it. And
Really? There's a holiday?
it's a Jewish holiday on Monday. It's called Yom Kippur. It's like the day of, I don't know, but it's a, you know, day of remembrance mostly.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a beautiful one. It's kind of sad, but people remember people they loved and tell stories about it. At least in my family, it's kind of like that. People light candles. We're not the most religious family, so we're not the best example, but it's meaningful anyway. Anyhow,
Okay.
the rest of you who don't celebrate, get some sleep, why don't you? Or Netflix
well,
binge.
Definitely get some sleep.
Guys, I'll see you all next Thursday. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Professor.
All right. Take care, Professor.
See you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank
See you.
you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you, Professor.
Bye-bye.
Professor.
Yes, Jerson.
So I've been kind of late with homeworks, From which homework can I